Welcome to the Performance Collective, where I bring together experts across the running, fitness, and human performance space to share insights, experiences, and practical strategies for improving performance. Hosted by me, Hannah Witt, a USCA certified running coach and athlete success and operations manager, this podcast features conversations with elite athletes, coaches, nutritionists, chiropractors, race directors, and industry leaders. Whether you're chasing a personal best, returning from injury, or looking to better understand the science behind training and recovery, the Performance Collective offers actionable insights to help you train smarter and perform at your best. Welcome back to the show. So today we have Sean Run Bum Blanton. He's one of the most recognized figures in ultra running, an ultra marathoner himself, race director, and founder of Run Bum Tours. Known for his larger-than-life personality and passion for creating unforgettable endurance experiences, Sean has built a reputation for designing some of the toughest and most iconic races in the country. Over the years, he has created and directed standout events, including the legendary Georgia Death Race, Chattanooga 100, Quest for the Crest, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, is it Ute 100 or UTE? You actually say the letter?
It's the Ute, yes.
Ute, okay. He's helped shape the modern ultra running scene while attracting elite athletes and everyday adventurers alike. His events are known for rugged terrain, high energy, strong community culture, and a commitment to pushing runners beyond their limits. A lifelong run bum at heart, Sean has dedicated his career to growing the sport through racing, storytelling, podcasts, and athlete mentorship. Whether behind the scenes, directing races, or out on the trails himself, he continues to inspire runners to chase big goals and embrace the adventure of ultra running. Thank you so much, Sean, for being with us today. And special treat, we've got Daniel Hamilton also on the show today. Sean and Daniel have shared experiences through the ultra running scene, and I thought it would be an awesome kind of thing to do to just have both of them on and see where things go today.
Right on.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I don't know about all those accolades. That sounds kind of crazy, but thank you. Yeah, those are I don't know, very humbling, but I don't know how true all of that is. I love doing this race directing and running, and I thank you for having me on. And I listened to a couple of episodes, and yeah, I love what you're doing. So thank you, Hannah.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. It's not super glamorous. We're a very humble podcast, but I mean, I think that's what ultra running is, right? You're just out in the woods running, and it's not glamorous. So, yeah.
Is that a Star Wars shirt you have on there?
That, it is, I think, Star Wars inspired, at least.
Inspired, okay.
Because I don't remember cats being in Star Wars, but definitely the vibe is there for sure.
I just saw lightsabers. I was like, oh man, that reminds me, I'm going to see The Mandalorian tonight, and I got excited.
Oh, nice. So, where are you located in the world these days?
The answer is yes. I mean, I truly embody the whole, name of Run Bum. It all comes from we've heard of the ski bums, like, oh, this guy's just a ski bum. He's out there working as a lifty and going out and just for the ski season and kind of, living off of microwave pizza and ramen packets like that. It was literally me for like the longest time, just to do these ultra marathons and go around the country and the world to run these. And so now it's like, I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Right now I'm in Atlanta. When I'm here, I'll come and hang out and see my parents, who I love, that they help me with all the races. They help behind the scenes. They used to be at all the races. Now we've tried to kind of, for their own stress, being in their mid 70s, to try to not have them getting very little sleep on race weekends and stressing out. So now I have enough staff and volunteers helping out with these events that they don't have to be. So, but I'm up in North Georgia a lot. I kind of follow our races, which follow the fall. Like we chase the fall south and the spring north. and we basically take the summer off, at least for the time being. So I kind of travel all around with these races, sometimes living out of my car. But it's so the answer, it's a weird answer, and it's a weird question for me because I'm not working a 9 to 5 job. It's like my phone is always on. I'm always working. I'm always trying to better what we're doing, and better the give back we do too. So I just kind of go all over. So pretty much the answer is the Southeast.
So you being from Atlanta, Georgia, and you said you kind of had that ski bum lifestyle. Did you work lifts yourself? Like where?
No. I just
Okay.
I basically used to, for lack of better terms, like in my early 20s and late teens, was like I'm a college dropout. Okay, just very proud of it. College was not for me. I was paying for myself out of pocket, and I was didn't know what I wanted to do. Was really kind of in this weird kind of spiraling depression that I feel like a lot of people now who are younger, I just turned 40, so maybe in my generation, but I see more the younger kids now, they don't know what they want to do. It's like, just go to college, get that 4-year degree, and life will just be made for you. Now for our parents' generation, yeah, absolutely, but not for me. And I was paying a bunch of money each year going to Georgia State here in Atlanta, and living at my parents' house, and just going into debt, just going to school to take core classes that I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And I felt like I had no future, and I was athletic. I wasn't, screw up or anything. And you know, somehow my mom one year got me into running. And actually, believe it or not, my mom, when I was in elementary school, actually directed a local at our school, at our Christian at our Catholic elementary school. She actually put on a 1 mile and 2 mile fun run. So I guess you could say race directing runs in the family. But I kind of had this, like, I don't know what I want to do. And somehow I got into this running. And eventually I was like, well, we need races here. And I decided to put on one. And it was the Georgia Death Race, which normally I'm not all decked out in my own gear, and I'm not trying to be. I just kind of looked at the pile of clothes real quick and threw this on. But we put that on, and then people loved it, and the rest was history. And it's just, now we've got like 13 or so races. And yeah, so that's kind of where the run bum kind of thing came from, was like, uh trying to go and pay for these races, and these trips. And it's like, shoestring budget travel. And I would be putting on Facebook, back in the early days where it wasn't people talking about politics and negativity. I could post in a group and be like, hey, I'm going to be in town for this race. Is there any way I can crash on the couch with somebody? Is there any way, like, somebody wants to take me for a run? Like, I've never been there. I would do this in like California, Oregon, Hawaii, like all these places. And I had people take me in on their couches and made some of the best friends of my life, ran races with people. It was really, really cool. And one day, this guy, I was playing soccer, and I was really embarrassed because while I was doing all this quote unquote epic running, for me, it's a self-fulfilling sport, but I was broke and living out of my parents' basement basically, and I would always be very embarrassed. And I was playing a soccer game one time, and this guy was just shooting it with me on the sidelines. He's like, hey, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I work investments and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, what do I do? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you could say I'm like a semi-professional runner bum. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. And normally people would go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, no, whatever. And they'd be like, this guy can run a lot. And it was like, cool, but it doesn't make you any money, right? And so I was really kind of embarrassed to tell women this. And I had all these friends who were like valedictorians of their classes and going to Boston University and all these just really nice places, where I was living at home and running, which is cool, but kind of not making it, in the eyes of everybody else. And so finally, this guy comes up to me the next weekend. He goes, hey, dude, you're the run bum. And I was like, what? He goes, you're the run bum. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, you're high. What are you talking about? He's like, we need to go have dinner. And at the time, like, no joke, I thought the guy was hitting on me, but he's like, no, I have a business opportunity for you. I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird, And I was like, well, what I got to lose, So we went out to dinner, and super awesome guy, changed my life. And he was like, we're going to start this company. We're going to sell shirts and stuff. And that ultimately grew into races. And so that's a long story, but that's where the whole run bum thing comes from. Some guy just being like, you're the run bum. And I'm like, what?
No, I love it. I think there's so much there. You were talking about how maybe spiraling depression had something to do with college and not knowing what you wanted to do and having all this pressure. And yeah, generationally, I think, even I remember growing up and our our counselor was like, this is like second grade. She's like, okay, everyone, we're going to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. And then we're going to map, how to get there in terms of college and things like that. And I'm like, this is second grade. I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life, like, so, but it's always been like college drilled into us. Right. And in
Right.
high school, at least, like I so stressed out all the time because I was taking super difficult classes, SATs, ACTs all the time, and it hasn't stopped. There's still that pressure to go to college, but there's also such a huge movement for people to not always go the traditional route, right? Because there are people who are massively successful and they either didn't go to college or they dropped out of college and they still managed to, make a living. And, I also living in your parents' basement and kind of feeling shame for that. It's such a hard time economically, and families are living together. People aren't leaving home, hit 18, leave home. That's not happening as much. There's just so many factors going on. So I don't think you should feel ashamed at all, but it's amazing that you flip the script, right? And an amazing
Right.
opportunity came your way. The guy, he was an investor, sort of, was what you said.
Kind of. He's like, a lot of people use the word entrepreneur. He definitely was, but that wasn't his job, right? Like he was just highly intelligent, super happy, loved motivating people, loved like anytime you would get into something, he would go all in. And it's like, how can I bring as many people as possible with me on this positive journey? And that's what he inspired me to do. He now lives in Costa Rica. I think he just kind of totally, ended up selling all his things and was like, cool, I'm going to go live in paradise for the rest of my life. And that's kind of what he's doing. It's really cool. And he's not connected to Run Bum anymore. But he's still my good friend. And, yeah, and I can't agree more with that. And I think it's weird. We're in this, to get deep for a second, as a white male, I was taught growing up, go to college, get a family, provide for your family, work towards retirement. Now, I don't know what other people were taught, male, female, other race, whatever. That's just what I was in Atlanta. And all my friends were. And you were almost look like, and you said this perfectly, it's like trades. Like if I had it all to do over again, I don't think I would ever land up doing what I'm doing now, which is so rewarding and so amazing. And I wouldn't change it for the world, but I'd probably go into like the trades. I mean, when I was younger, it's like women and men, or boys and girls at that age, looked down on people that did manual labor, you know, I think people think that race directing isn't manual labor, but a lot of it is. And I think it's unfortunate because some of the people I know are the happiest, make the most money, provide the most for their family, and have just fruitful, meaningful lives are doing manual labor. They're not the people that are clocking in, at an office and then clocking out. They're the people that are owning their own business, waking up, driving wherever, and then having to just work until the work is done, not until the clock is done. So that's my little soapbox. If your parents, please encourage your children, male or female, to go into vocational and trades. I think that's where it's at.
No, I agree with that. I've seen here recently, especially, so many commercials. Like I'll watch YouTube videos or whatever, and then the commercials, the ads, they'll be like, um, AI can't, I don't know, do something
Yes.
mechanical with a car. AI can't, some other trade skill, right? I'm blanking right now, but that's absolutely right. AI can't do these mechanical trade type jobs, and I think to myself too, shoot, I should like become an electrician or do something like that so that I would always have job security. But
and you're your own
Right.
boss, and your job is always in demand, right? Yeah, you'll have to work crazy hours sometimes because things always happen at odd times for people when they have emergencies. But being your own boss, there's definitely a big thing for that. I was in a traditional job for almost a decade, and I was pretty darn miserable. And
Mm.
I basically was at the end of my ability to handle that anymore. And so going into the role as running coach, yeah, I wear a lot of different hats, but I get up, I make my schedule, and when the job is done, the job is done. And sometimes it's earlier, later, whatever, but there's a sense of freedom in that for sure. Daniel, you've been like observing all of this. What do you think
Yes.
from like a psychological perspective? Have we almost been uh, kind of raised to have this mentality, go to college, produce, produce, produce? Do you see a shift in that mindset at all?
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that you can go so far into debt at such a young age. You
God,
don't
amen.
yeah, uh you don't your brain doesn't even stop developing till you're like 25 if you're a male. And yet you can go into like hundreds of $1,000s worth of debt, and there's no guarantee that you'll get a job afterwards. There's obviously you're going to see a really good examples of people that got the jobs because that's what the colleges and universities are going to make you want to kind of focus on, the people that are making all the money so that you kind of aspire to that. But I think the trades are suffering. We don't have the kind of internship programs like they do in Europe where you're kind of going into a vocational job that can make you a lot of money. I think when I was a high school guidance counselor right before I went in the army, um, this was back 2012, 2011. You could make 80 grand a year as an uphill pipe welder. And that's before you even get to if you do something like nuclear facilities, you're above six figures. But it's kind of hard, you know. And then you're not going to have the big marketing budgets at the places teaching welding either. So, yeah, I think it's really dangerous to kind of be coaxed into a false sense of security that you have to go to school in order to make it. Um, After I graduated my undergrad, I went into the military the first time, um, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had a bachelor's in psychology. Are you going to open up like a shop and sell psychology? You can't really do it. Um, I kind of pursued getting my master's, but that's kind of my side gig. I only work with the people that I want to, and it's mostly veterans, law enforcement, and athletes. But it took a really long time and a lot of soul searching. Um, I was just fortunate to have something like running that could take a kind of an ADHD person and focus them. So I think that's why a lot of us kind of misfits get into running is because psychologically, all the issues that maybe somebody that isn't a good fit for college or that would struggle in college or right after and isn't going to like med school or something like that are corrected by running. Um, Brain chemistry is extremely corrected and slowed down by running. And you'll even see it in the top tier of the ultra running community. Do you remember Scott Breeden?
Of course,
Uh,
man. Yeah.
yeah, he's like a doctor now.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. But it took him a while to kind of find himself. Luckily he had guys, race directors like you offering events where you can find yourself. And I always noticed that about you. You're out there. You're not just like the wizard behind the scenes, like making everything happen. You're actually out there with the runners. That was the first thing I always noticed um about you was that you're actually out there. And so I know all the really fast guys appreciate that because it's a lonely introverted group of dudes kind of in that top 10%. And that's how me and Sean met. Was he was putting on events where you aren't as worried about like getting first place, but you actually just want to finish. So,
What was the
what are
sorry?
what are some of the things that you've seen in races that like personality traits in people that really help them finish your races?
Man, so that's a good question. So I think it's interesting because like I think when you stop running my races and joined the army and you know, started family, Patty and all that stuff, I was transitioning away from trying to make hard races to, hey, this is going to be the most scenic thing possible. I do have a couple races. Georgia Death Race really is the only one that it's like meant to be hard for the sake of being hard, but also epic because you're going point to point, right? So that race, I see a different caliber of person. Maybe not caliber, just a different type of person with a different motivation versus somebody who's going to come run our Grayson Highlands 50K, which has wild ponies on it and beautiful views, right? I see as the distance goes further and it gets harder, you will see less and less women. I've always said this is because women are smarter than men and men are just idiots playing human demolition derby in the woods with their buddies, right? But no, really, I mean, this is very true. You look at any ultra and the further the distance, there's less females. So I don't know anything about women. I'm not even going to try to act like I know the female brain, but I will say the men that I see, I can speak to this, right? You see people from all walks of life, which is why I love trail and ultra running. You see doctors, you see lawyers, you see people who have been homeless before, you see people who are former crack addicts, right? You see alcoholics, you see I don't know, just normal people. Like you see people got picked first, people got picked last in gym class. You see people who've been running their entire life. You see people who just started running. So the cool thing about that, and I think to me, my pitch to people is, you know, cool. If you want to come run our races, we would love to have you. Like, I love it. Like, it truly is a community. But the traditional thought process of what people looked at when they go, oh, he's a runner, right? You can look, oh, he's a runner, she's a runner. I can tell by looking at them that no longer exists. Like for me, like when you look at ultra runners, there's a lot of people who are bigger people, who are older. Like I mean, really until I would say the last couple of years, like COVID really made a change on the average age. Like it dropped it significantly because road running stopped and trail running came back before road running. So a lot of these millennials and Gen Z people, that they needed community, they needed to be around people their own age, just, you know, groups of people, you know, maybe they're trying to date people and they're single and they're lonely and maybe they're not, maybe they just need to be around people. They started getting into trail running. So now we're seeing this huge influx of, you know, under 30-year-olds getting into this trail and ultra running. Now I see it more as like bucket list checking, like, cool, done an ultra, I'm done, don't need to do that anymore, much more so than the older generation. But, you know, when we were started off running, Daniel, like the average age, I would have say was like almost 50 plus at an ultra marathon. I've been doing this for almost 20 years running myself. I've run over 300 ultras. I don't even count anymore. It's just fun, you know, here and there to do that. I don't run ultras like I did before. I used to do them like every weekend. We do it. Sometimes we run a 50K Saturday, 50K Sunday, you know, just dumb stuff because is what you did because it was just the lifestyle, right? So the people that I see are anything and everything in between. But the one thing that I hope our events brings, and the one thing that I think brings people back, you know, the regulars back, is the community, right? I can't stand it when I go to an event, people like a running race, and you go to the race, people finish, and then they just leave, right? Like, have food, have beer or non-alcoholic options for people, and have a place where people can hang out and talk, you know, war stories, talk, you know, just talk running. And, you know, when I kind of eavesdrop before and after races, I hear people, oh man, good to see you. Yeah, I saw you at whatever event, or how was this, or, you know, and afterwards, you know, people are just getting that hype of, oh, that was cool. What did you think about this one section? And that, to me, I think a lot of our ultra running community, myself, just speaking about me, I've almost never felt like I belonged anywhere. Like I said before, it's like I had friends that all went to big name Ivy League schools, you know, whatever. And I'd like to think that, you know, I don't want to compare myself to other people, but man, I am so happy with my life. I'm so happy with my friends group. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy with my life choices. Like, I'm just happy, you know, at 40, I'm blessed, right? But I think a lot of those people, like for me, starting ultra running, it's like something you can go do on your own as a pariah, as an outcast, you know, as a seed that's kind of been cast away from society. And you know,
Washed
I
up
see a lot.
college distance runner.
There you go. And it's
Yeah.
but it gives you purpose, right? Like I see a lot of people, it's like, I am an ultra runner. This is who they are. I'm not an ultra runner. I run ultras sometimes. I don't define myself by that. But there's a lot of people that define themselves by this. And I think that's beautiful. And I think it's amazing. And what a positive thing to define your life as and have as a goal, as every day waking up grinding at this, because it is your release. It is your get away from the bullshit, right?
Yeah, I now that you say that, the two guys I trained with every summer in Bryson City during college, one of them was the CEO of Harris, and he was like 35 and I was like 20. And the other one was a Pepsi delivery guy who was like 40. That was like our running group. And we would like I think with those two guys we got like the FKT at Mount LeConte in Gatlinburg.
Nice.
The CFO of Harris and a Pepsi delivery guy and a college runner. Like, it's
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really brings unique people together.
I think it's so important. Like, so many people, I think about if you go to a party and people are like, so what do you do? What do you, and they kind of are meaning career wise, right? Like, and that shouldn't be like a limiter in your identity as far as what you do being what, you know, how you make money. It should be so much more than that. And I think it's like you giving people a space to say they're an ultra marathon runner, that's so important for them to establish an identity that's beyond, you know, how do you make money? It seems like really gauche to me to just that be your one and only like identity identifier. So yeah, that's, I'm gonna have to ask a little bit more about the women and the male, the dichotomy there with the women not signing up for the longer and or harder races. And what's her name that finished Cocodona? She did amazing.
Rachel Intrican, man.
Yeah,
She
why
killed
can't
it.
I remember that name? You know, here you have this amazingly successful female, and I'm thinking, are there just female outliers that really thrive at these really tough, long distances, or is there something else that's preventing women from kind of going into those longer, tougher races? To me, it's almost like I feel like raised Southern, you know, girl style, you're kind of told to you take care of yourself and you can't do that, you're not strong enough, things like that. You're kind of limited a little bit, if not overtly so much, but you're not given kind of the encouragement that men are given to test yourself. And my conversation recently with John Kelly, he's, you know, we were saying, what's the motivation for going out there and beating yourself up like that? And it's almost like getting yourself into this situation and seeing, do I have the intrinsic tools to get myself out of it? You know, putting yourself out there and seeing, can you make it, and testing yourself. And women, they are almost like not, well, they're definitely not encouraged to do that so much. It's more like, oh, you're fragile, you've got to take care of yourself, protect yourself. And I think that's changing too, obviously, and it's hugely based on where you grow up regionally, things like that. But I mean, obviously you're seeing that women do have physiological ability to thrive in those really tough races, by recent performances, right? So, maybe it'll catch up. Maybe you'll see more women kind of feeling like they belong in that space. That's another thing. Women tend to almost feel like if it's a male dominated thing already, they shy away from it because they feel insecure. So the more women that'll do it, I think it'll just kind of, become more women doing it in general. So, maybe that shift will happen. What do you think about psychology there, Daniel, in terms of, do you see a difference in male and women? Did you have a point, Sean? You go for it if you did.
I want to say something on that because I think that's all good information. And so about 13, 14 years ago, my ex-girlfriend at the time, who was my girlfriend at the time, actually, I think it was with Rock Creek, they did a survey, right? And they polled, it was like 300 women that were road runners that did not trail run. Okay. Super in, right? And so why don't you run on trails? Right. And this is in Chattanooga, greater Chattanooga area. Okay. And I'm kind of paraphrasing all this, and this was my understanding of it. And it was a great study, I thought, and it really changed for me. Again, as a male, I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't know. I'm just not trying to know, but we found that there was like 3 or 4 things that all women basically that did not run trails, that did road running, said. It was like afraid of getting hurt, afraid of someone else hurting them, was basically those, and afraid of getting lost. Like those 3 things, right? Those are all valid concerns, right? And as men, Daniel and I probably don't really think about that as much, so I think
Not now. When I was like 118 pounds, like.
I mean, I'm still wary of people, right? Like I've been out there, and now most of the time I run. I mean, full disclosure, I run with a gun. I've been attacked by a pit bull a couple years ago, and it almost caused me to lose my foot by like a centimeter. So, but with that being said, I also think the other thing too, again, this is just my thoughts, maybe I'm wrong, is I see, growing up here in Atlanta, is number one, being 40, at least my generation, there weren't as many women playing sports because it wasn't available. It wasn't really a thing because it wasn't pushed, right? And it's also like, well, how are you going to get a job with, women's sports? I mean, maybe you're going to be a coach somewhere, but there wasn't a lot of, I don't even know how you say, I don't want to say potential, but like, potential for upward mobility. Whereas like men's sports, even though it's
return on investment, right? There wasn't a tangible return on investment from being in sports for girls, at least, but later on.
Correct.
Continue.
And I coached high school cross country at an all Jewish school in Atlanta, by the way. And I absolutely loved it. And I loved coaching the girls and the boys, and it was awesome. It was kind of cool to see the dichotomy and the interactions between the kids. But no, and I also think that, as you were saying before, it's like, kind of almost like historic gender roles. It's like, hey, women, we want them to, I'm not saying we, but parents, would probably try to, hey, encourage them. Like, no, you don't want to do sport. You want to raise a family and do all this stuff. And it's true. Like, I mean, if you are raising a family, that probably takes a lot of time. I get that. But then I also see so many amazing mothers of like 2, 3, 4 kids running our events who have amazing supporting partners that do that. I mean, so it's like, I'm glad it's becoming more and more and more and more of a thing. But again, from the outside and just seeing all that, that's what we saw. So for what it's worth.
I'm not trying to like put you like on the defensive or anything. It's just something interesting to talk about because I can imagine that women are daunted by more challenging races. But anyway, Daniel, what were you going to say?
I think in my private practice, it is, I think a lot of, I'm speaking for mothers primarily, a lot of mothers have a hard time prioritizing self-care. like what you were talking about with a tangible investment. You know, they're putting everything that they can into their kids. And so to go out and run for on their own, there's not like an immediate payoff when they've been told, like, you know, like you said, raise a family. I can kind of be something that's hard for people that need self-care to wrap their mind around, that sometimes, you know, the Shaolin method of like letting things go and they'll actually improve, rather than like managing them so hard that you're like, you know, crushing creativity and things like that. Yeah, so I think some of it is a lack of prioritization of self-care, which I've seen a lot in my private practice, that a lot of times I'm teaching self-care, which um has let me explore a lot of other hobbies, so that, because, you know, running's not for everyone.
True.
But yeah, I think like moms have a hard time taking care of themselves sometimes.
And I also think it's my job as a race director to keep everybody running our events safe, period. Right. And that's what we do. We've been doing this for 15 plus years now, you know, and I would like to think most race directors do the same. But I think, you know, to give people, if anybody's watching this and cares at all, but to give people homework, is like, again, as a white male, it's very hard for me to motivate women, like, or hey, come join us for a run. Whereas a female can do that way better than I can. And is, you know, people look at, you know, if you're a female, you're going to relate to a female a lot better, whereas I'll probably relate to a man a lot better, right? And I would love to encourage, you know, we need more women's only run groups. You know, like I see, you know, there's that are literally for everybody. You know, my suggestion would be no one left behind. Have also like a walking element to just really just a, you know, we're here for you, whatever pace, you're going to be safe, that kind of thing. And, you know, that does so much more. And not just for women, just for anybody putting on group runs. I would encourage you to do that, because you get more people, you build a better community if you support those who are at, you know, your quote unquote weakest link, or the people that are the newest. And you need to make them feel safe and looked after. That's just my opinion.
So for the women who are having doubts about whether or not to sign up, they want to, but they're like, the safety's in the back of their mind. What measures do you take as a race director to kind of ease their minds in providing safety from, you know, if they fall, or from other people, wildlife? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, I can talk all day about this. So number one, let's just talk about safety, because there's only one thing I could say that we do specifically for women. And in my shorter distance races, we have some of them actually have more women than men at them. A lot of years. Our Helen Holiday half, a marathon and 10K, has historically had about 50-50, maybe 51-49 over the years. Grayson Highlands Trail Race, we have a 50-mile 50K, 25K, and an 8-miler. That happens. It's a huge percentage of females. But as a race director, number one, there's been 3 times, I think now in 15 years, where I've had to ask a male to no longer come to our events. You know, obviously not going to mention names or anything, but it hasn't happened anytime recently, thank God. It's always super awkward, and I'm more than willing to step up and say something, as long as somebody, you know, I'm not the police, so I don't want to get into people's personal business or be judge, jury, executioner. But I've had where women have showed me, hey, this person has signed up for this race. Now that I have signed up for this, they're sending me here's all the stuff and all the screenshots of what they're sending me. I feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, ooh, wow, yeah, that's creepy. That's not okay. I am not all right with that. I send the person a refund. I say, hey, I'm sorry. I don't think our race is for you, are for you. And, you know, if there's any questions you have, please send me a message. You know, I've never once had any of those people even question that or even message me back. They never showed up. It was never a problem. So we've had that before. I do trail work. So one thing a lot of trail work, and so does my people that work for me. So one thing, people are like, oh, we can jump over logs and, you know, all this stuff like this and down trees. Look, that's cool and all. I feel that for some people, but it's not safe. It gets worse and worse and worse. And, I don't want anybody to get hurt tripping over a log or doing stuff like that. So we try to maintain the trails and keep them at as best of standards as we can. I try to go overboard on the amount of information, probably comes off like word vomit at some of our races on like, these are the dangers. Like, hey, you're in a exposed environment for a lot of this. The weather is changing. Here's what the weather update that I'm seeing is going to be. Please make sure, so we try to do that. I also have 3 other women that work for Run Bum races as race directors, and they give me their input all the time. We work on this stuff together. It is like a committee, if you will, and we kind of make decisions. So it's not just me. And I love, again, like I said before, I'm not going to try to think and understand what women, think or want. So it's nice to have that yin and yang there to hear all sides of the things. So yeah, we track runners. We have sweepers behind our last runners for all our events. At the end of the races, we had, like, I'll give you an example. Like, we had some women get lost about 7 years ago at one of our races, and they just completely, it was a group of 3. They're all together. They traveled together. They took a wrong turn where nobody else did, and then decided to keep going because they would have had to go back uphill. And they're like, well, we don't really want to do that. And so they got to other junctions and then just randomly took rights and lefts and whatever. They went 10 miles off the course. I mean, this is crazy. Got to a road, got a ride, never called us. So at the end of the race, we had 3 outstanding people, all from the same area. We're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe they got a bib. So we were calling them. It's like 10 o'clock at night. This lady answers the phone. I was like, hello. And she goes, hello. And I said, hey, this is Sean. This is the race director. Oh, hey, sorry, we're in the hot tub. We got lost, but we ended up getting a ride out, and it's okay. But hey, can we call you back? We're drinking in the hot tub. And I was just like, yep, click. So there are safety nets for all this stuff. And this has nothing to do with them being female or anything. It's just off the top of my head. What I always tell people is like, this is what can happen. And if we didn't call those people, they could be out there dead or hurt or in the process of those out there on the course. So yeah, I mean, we take safety very seriously. Like, I coordinate with like the local EMS, search and rescue. I mean, it's being a race director, people only see the finished product and they only see like running the race. There are thousands of hours that go into every single event. It is absolutely crazy. And sometimes I get kind of upset because I'll go run a race. I'm like, man, this person didn't put as much effort as I put into this. And I'm kind of like, it's kind of a shame, it kind of makes me, I'm like, dude, this wasn't safe. Or yeah.
With that story, I'm kind of ashamed for females right now. I'm a female. And
dude, anybody could have done that.
I mean, come on, Karen, get it together. But I mean, do guys get lost on your courses?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's not like
there is no.
I blew a turnaround at Grayson Highlands.
Yeah,
I just
oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
Did you keep going for 10 miles and end up in a hot tub with alcohol?
Nope. I dropped out, petted a pony.
Yeah, we're like, where is Daniel? He should be winning. Oh wait, he didn't turn around at the gate. Oh,
I very infrequently ran with headphones. That was actually the last time I ever raced with headphones.
Yeah, didn't somebody yell at you? Yeah, somebody was yelling at you.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Turn around.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. I got better at land nav in the Army.
Yeah, like when I put a volunteer out there, like, you're the course marshal, make sure nobody goes this way. And then he just sprints by and they're like, hey, turn around. Hey, turn around. Hey, turn around. Hey, turn around. And then he just keeps going.
No, I get that, because when I was an intern at Zap Fitness, when it was still Zap Fitness in Bowling Green, North Carolina, training Olympic athletes. But like, the main job of the interns was not that hard. All you had to do was stand at turns and be like, for the adult campers, like, go that way. Right. You just stand there and point. And that was a major goal.
Oh man. That's better than at Lookout 50. I was cooking. But they didn't have like the back half of the course laid out yet, or the part of the course, because I was I was pretty far ahead of the course record, and they just didn't have the course. I think you always have the course ready.
Yeah. See, Daniel's in that class of like, you're so fast that it just screws up race directors like math, right? We're like, oh
I
yeah, like
was.
nobody's ever gotten here before this time. Like we'll be fine, right? And then
Yeah.
Daniel comes through running like a 5 or 6 minute mile for 50 miles. Like, what a jerk.
That is crazy, Daniel. Wow. Like,
Whatever happened to Zap? Because I remember seeing that because like a bunch of the kids that I coached wanted to go to that one year.
yeah, so Zap, I think it was this was the last year. They used to have a facility in Blowing Rock on Blackberry Road down in a holler. And yeah, they coached athletes. I forget how many years they actually did that for, but many, many years. And they just decided to close doors, and they made it more of a athletes live in Blowing Rock and kind of coach from like a gym. And I think that Pete and Zeke had in their home, but they would still meet and everything. But then that kind of dissolved too, and it's more like it's just no more. They've just kind of retired from that, which is a shame. I don't know the exact reasoning behind it. I think the whole model of endurance athletes at like that kind of elite professional level is changing because a lot of them are still working, or they don't want to live kind of all together in a compound sort of thing. So that model is changing, and maybe they just didn't find that it was successful anymore. I don't know.
Man, I hope somebody, maybe you, Hannah, maybe you need to send them an email and be like, hey, I'm your girl. Like, let me take this over and run with it.
I wish that would be awesome. I'm on Beach, which is close to Blowing Rock, but as far as like training Olympic hopefuls, I don't know how many Olympic hopefuls I could recruit to come live up on this 5,000 plus elevation mountain when it's literally like 6 months of it's probably going to be snowing and icing and you can't run outside. But that's why at Zap they would go down to Florida frequently for winter training, because otherwise you're just stuck inside. It's not worth going and twisting an ankle outside. But when did you and Daniel meet? Which race? Was it Georgia Death Race?
Maybe it was at like one of the Chattanooga races. Maybe
I can't even remember. I was racking my brain. Like, when did we meet?
Race weekends, I'm like operating on like an hour or two of sleep a night for like 3 or 4 days, and I'm just kind of in handshaking and baby kissing mode. It's like, good to see you, and then it's like, okay, all right, wait, something's happening now. I need to divert attention to like help people or make sure nothing bad happens,
Sure,
and I was always kind of in like, this is going to be an out of body experience. I don't want to talk to anyone until after it's done. It was always I would always have to go to a very dark place, like when I was running or when I was racing, especially at Sean's races. So
Daniel's like talking to himself before the race, like, no, I don't want to come back out.
Yes, you will. Yeah. His other personality responding, right?
Yeah. I think before Mount Mitchell, I stood up that morning and I looked at my wife and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, what? Why do I do this?
Because you have a freaking gift, right? Like, who can sustain 5-6 minutes, even 7-minute pace over 50 miles, right? I know right now I train Daniel, I'm his coach, but right now you're like, oh man, that feels so far away. But like, it is actually in your DNA, right? And you can extract that for yourself if you want it. It's there.
Daniel, I do. What are you training for right now?
Life. Just like trying to get it's like trying to get the pounds off. I think when me and Sean, do you want me to call you Sean or Run Bum? You're more of a Run Bum.
You can call me whatever you want. Okay.
Well, I think when we really like I always tried to meet race directors, and that's something like, it seems like you're being off-putting, but like, it's good. I think it's good for these races to have like faster runners at them. It gets them a little bit more publicity and
I can't agree more,
um,
man.
and that, I thought that was always the delineation. Like my focus when I was running competitively was I want to bring attention to East Coast races.
Yeah,
That was like my whole thing. I had no interest in going out west and running on some like cart path for 100 miles. You
right.
know, like I want these dudes to come east and run technical, gnarly trails and show, run 7 minute pace on like you can run 5:30 on a cart path, run 7 minute pace on like, Lookout Mountain or whatever, or Georgia
Well,
Death
dude,
Race.
this is why I love like our quest for the Crest race, right? For example, and not
Yeah,
we just had it was the last race of the season, whatever. So it's still
the
fresh in my mind. I was
grinder,
there too.
dude.
Bro, it is hard. It's a 50K point to point, 12,000 feet of climbing and about 34 and a half. Actually, so most of that, it's like maybe 11.5, 11.6 of that occurs in the first marathon. So
Yeah,
that's insane, right? And so the other day I did a run up there and I'm training for a 90K in the Alps. This like the fourth time doing it, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I was looking at Strava. I'm not a big Strava guy. I was looking at it and it was like, oh, cool. Like, hey, you just set like like your second fastest time on this section. I was like, oh, what was my fastest time? I look, I was like, oh man, I have like a KOM on this, but just running that small section. And I was like, oh wow, I'm like 20 seconds faster than like David Hedges and then Avery Collins, a couple minutes on him, and then this other guy, Grant Barnett. But then I'm like, oh hell yeah, dude, these guys are pro runners. And I'm like, oh, that's because they were running the 50K and had already run like 20 miles before doing this. And I'm like, wow, I'm like this big, that's crazy. But what I see is like these elite runners coming to do that race. And it was just like all inspiring. Joe Gray ran the 10K one year. To see these guys who are elite pro runners getting paid, sponsored, all this stuff, coming and running this course. And the winning time for the 50K was like almost 7 hours by like an elite runner. It's like, holy heck, that's it's just. But I agree. That's why I started race directing. I got tired of people being like, you guys don't have real trails or mountains out east. I'm like, oh my God, yes we do, and they're beautiful. Like I love them. Like
yeah, and you'll have like 10 summits in a race. Like, like
yeah,
you'll run a ridge line and you can see like it's one view to your left and then a completely different view to your right because you're never going to like really break the tree line.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think when we really started, like, I would always try to meet race directors, and stay in touch with them. And then if I wasn't racing one weekend, I would try to help out. Like do a training, like you can do a training run and like make sure everyone's okay on the trail, and kind of give back a little bit. And then I was a sales rep in Atlanta, and I think I was at a Big Peach Running Company like group run, and you showed up. And you were like,
Dude,
oh
I've
yeah,
been running the
this is
same.
my neighborhood. I was like, I didn't even know like
Yeah.
you like knew what a city was.
Yeah, shout out Brookhaven Run Club. I've been running with Brookhaven Big Peach now for like almost 19 years, longer than anybody. And it's undergone so many different people being in charge of it, different names or whatever. It's super cool. I really like it.
And
I
there's
think
trails
group runs
in
are awesome.
Atlanta.
There are,
Like,
yeah, people don't know about it.
It's crazy. But yeah, that's when I just try to stay in touch with people. That's how we met.
So let me ask you guys a question real quick. How do you feel about this? I feel like I'm the weirdo because I do like running on the road because I like running fast, right? Like I love running 5-6 minute miles. It is awesome, right? I feel like most people that run ultras kind of they like party pace, right? They want to be out there all day and enjoying the woods. And I love that too because I love doing it. I've been first, I've been last, everything in between. I've done it all, I feel like, with running, and I continue to do it and try to get people into it. But I am really into this kind of like hybrid run where I'll map myself out a run, usually up in the mountains, where it'll be like part road and then part trail. Like maybe I run over the trail kind of as a warm up, run the trail and then run back, or I'll do like a big mountain climb, drop down.
I used to
and
do
then
that. That was like most of my training.
Yeah.
Just because I needed to keep my leg speed.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. People would ask, like, how do you keep, how do you come off a technical trail and then you hit the road at like 520 pace? Because I do it in training.
Yeah. Because my name's Daniel Hamilton,
No, it's
And
because
by the
you
way,
train. I mean,
here's the autograph.
you train for it. Like, if you train for
No,
it, you like, there, a lot of the guys that are really popular are like Killian and those guys, and um, they do speed. It just doesn't end up like on their channel or whatever because they're running in the freaking in Switzerland, and that's cooler.
Yeah.
To get on your But they do track workouts.
Hannah, let me ask you, as a coach, as a former collegiate athlete, the one thing I do see a lot of is you'll get these really, I don't know, I call them like fast collegiate runners, and then they'll all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'm going to run an ultra or two, and they're so fast, but then they blow up because they don't know how to eat or pace. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you try to train a ex-collegiate runner or somebody who's used to doing speed for shorter distance and be like, hey, cool, let's go do a longer run where you actually have to take in a bunch of nutrition?
I mean, I think you said it right there. Nutrition's the biggest barrier because in college training, Daniel and I, we talked about that. I don't ever remember taking nutrition on a long run, right? So
no, our coach would hand out Ensure afterwards. He would like stop by CVS and get us Ensure.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's gut training. That's the thing. And also some collegiate runners, they were probably more than likely coached to like be as light as you can be. So
Yes, dude.
the thought of being intentional about eating like so
I
many
need to
more.
hop off here. Can I do that without messing y'all up?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks so
We'll
much.
allow it.
Yeah, sorry. I got an appointment coming.
Okay.
You're awesome. Thanks, coach. I'm gonna go do my workout.
You got her. Just kidding. You're awesome too. Yeah. It's in the 90s. Please don't blow up. Like, make sure you drink water.
Okay. Yeah. Water.
Yeah, enjoy the Ensure at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye. Yeah, I think for like you said, to try and not only attract collegiate runners but also retain them, it's the nutrition component, it's the hydration, it is pacing as well, because in their minds, like, it's like a gun going off and it's like a gut reaction to freaking go as hard as you can. And to train in such a way for like a sustainable effort, that's so important. And it's to shift the mindset too, from getting it over with as quickly as possible to managing effort over a sustained period of time. Because if you're doing an ultra race, you most likely, if you're traveling especially, you're not going to be super aware of conditions until you're actually on that trail. So no matter what pacing strategy you have in mind, you've got to be able to shift gears in case, what if it's muddy, what if it's the footing isn't as good as you thought it would be, things like that. So it's just really being adaptable. And collegiate runners are almost like, you have a mindset of, this is a pace, I'm going to do it no matter what. Because in your mind, it's like, if you're doing cross country, it's over in a matter of like 30 minutes or less, right? So it's temporary, it's painful, but you can gut it out. And it's a complete mind shift. I think you can definitely still be successful, but it's not being afraid to eat, not being afraid when pace falls apart, and just being adaptable. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it was really interesting because I never ran collegiately, but I like running fast. I like racing, right? So I'm really not a good ultra runner racer, if that makes sense. I like running 25K or under. I really like that, which is kind of less about pacing and more about just kind of going balls to the wall. And but what I see and to kind of tie this all back together is, as a race director, it's like, man, I really wish we had more. I always try to encourage people racing, right? Like, so a lot of times I still do give, men and women, will send them a message and be like, hey, saw you did really well at this, or hey, we'd love to give you like an entry, like to come throw down at this. And it's hard because, there's so many races nowadays, but really it's like anybody who really takes trail and ultra running seriously as a whole moves out west. It sucks, and yes, you can go to Flagstaff and have these and Boulder, and everybody's running and pushing each other, and these Coconino or Coca whatever Cowboys, it's like, hell yeah, dude, this is like the elite of the elite. I get it. It's awesome. And for the longest time, Asheville was really like that. The Asheville Running Collective, guys do the wedge run, dude, awesome guys. And then a bunch of them got hurt and kind of aged out a little bit. It's still there a little bit, but it doesn't have that dog eat dog like weekly group run where it's just an attrition run, And I wish we had more stuff like that. And I think it's weird because we're in that. As a race director, it's like elite runners and people racing a race are not what fills up my race. They're not what keeps the lights on. It's kind of more entertaining. It's something I like to encourage as somebody who personally likes to all out race, right? But what I see is, now that and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, it's different. Like you look at it, collegiate running, it's like you're running to win. You're not running under the presumption of everyone's a winner, right? Whereas all of the sports, it's like, oh, you got participation awards and stuff. And we do that. Because that's what we are not necessarily catering to, but that's the community we are. It's people who are 40, 50 years old. It's like, dude, we're obviously not going to win maybe you win your age group. Frick yeah, hell yeah. Like this is awesome. But it's interesting seeing that, just cutthroat mentality of this, collegiate. And then you get into trail and ultra running, which is kind of like the hippie cousin of running, if you will. And and if so, I guess where I'm going with this is at my races, we'll see certain races all of a sudden, a random race on a Saturday for a 50K, there'll be 5 people that are racing and it's fun to watch. And then the next day on the Sunday, maybe for the 25K, there's one person running. And I see, as there are typically less women overall in the sport, that means you get less women inherently racing all out. So it's like, I look at Deanna Doan, amazing athlete, right? She runs a lot of races here on the East Coast, and sometimes like there's nobody anywhere close. So she's racing against the men, and sometimes she wins overall. It's amazing. But then you go out west, and then it's like, these are the elite of the elite of the elite. And it's like, she'll be top 20 at something, top 10, which is epic. But it's like, we need that. I wish somebody somewhere would like kind of just create another, like, again, I go back to Asheville Running Collective. It's so kind of in a positive way, like a cutthroat pushing each other. Iron sharpens iron, right? Like you can only get as good as the people around. I mean, in theory, you get better, obviously, but it will make you even better. And we just, like, Atlanta doesn't really have that, minus the Atlanta Track Club, but they don't run trails. Knoxville, you have some outlying groups here and there, like the at the long run, and what's his face, Ethan. I mean, it's really cool. Chattanooga, you have a little bit of that, which I like, and Huntsville as well. But there's not like these big groups of just like, hey, we're ex-collegiate runners, let's push each other and do the trail running. I don't know, like how do we get people to that level?
Well, I mean, I think about people are going to go where the money is, right? Unfortunately. So if sponsors are sponsoring camps and things, and it's more focused out west, it's just getting sponsors to look east, right? Getting big brands to look east and see that it's viable, and not only viable, like it's tougher in a very different way than those races out west. And, Zap, for example, being in this location, they're like, why would they be in a random place in North Carolina? But it's moderate altitude and great trail systems. It has to be grown, right? There has to be, you just have to have somebody start it, because I mean, get some competitive women, men too, together, and have them like that run of attrition that you described weekly, and then have races that they can put it in action. That's the biggest thing. I think it's growing, and I think it's heading in that direction, but is there something that can, like a catalyst to make it happen even faster? Maybe. How, what was the thing that made all these successful, really competitive people want to move out west? Was it the races that attracted them? Was there some other component? It's just kind of like study how the success happened there, and try to not duplicate it, but make it similar. You have to just,
Yeah.
I don't know why out west, why did it become successful? Is it because high altitude? Is there, was the performance testing out there more accessible? Was sponsors, were they putting the cash in the camps there more so? It's, was it a resort community prior, so that it almost became like, okay, it's like a camp for adults, so let's make it more a camp for elite adults. Did it grow in that way? There's so many ways that you can look at it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, one of the things out west, and you look at places like Boulder, it's just accessibility to trails. And it's funny because I'm like, we totally have that. A lot of places, like where I'm at in North Georgia, like I have 130 miles of trails within a 30-minute drive of where I effectively live, right? And that's why I moved there. And there's just so many places that could be like that. The problem is you're out kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? So it's like having a job there. You'd have to work remote, or you'd have to work at like, I don't know, like a Home Depot, or do, manual labor, which I don't know, I feel like that's just not really likely to happen for a lot of people, or maybe they wouldn't see that way. And plus you'd be the only person there. Like there isn't a established community. Yeah, I'd love to see, man, maybe Zap will bring something back, or maybe somebody will hear this and be like, oh dude, man, like Franklin, North Carolina, we need to do this, or Clayton, Georgia, or Chattanooga or something, like, yeah, let's do this, like, little thing, where we can have people living on the property and running. And I would love to see that, and if maybe it only positively affects 5 people, hell yeah, you're still a success,
Well, it would
yeah,
have to be almost something that's, if they're all living on the property together, something that's self-sufficient, right? So you have to be able to, that's basically what Zap did. They had the adult running camps, but they also had people who donated, they were always trying to, what'd you call that? Like advancement, that kind of thing, donor relations. You have to look at every possible source of income, do something that you make the property as sustainable as possible, so that athletes don't have to look for other outside work, and they can just focus on that. And maybe that model failed for Zap because it was, simply the money was not there anymore. I don't know, but
right.
Yeah, I definitely think that if there were more places like that where you had like higher density of elite athletes in this Southeast region, then it would become like out west. It's just trying to figure out what to attract people, what to keep them, how to make them stay, and just make them feel happy with the quality of life, because it is very isolated, right? Some people don't want to live out in the woods in isolation. They need better access to amenities. Like you mentioned, out west, you can hop on trails in major cities pretty immediately. And here, to an extent, you mentioned there are trails where you are. Here, I'm in a pretty isolated area. Trail access, you still have to drive if you want to get to the trail. So it's, I don't know, there's so many factors to think about. You have to be really strategic with where you would place that group, how you would make it sustainable, and just how to attract people, how to keep them, or how to make them want to stay.
Right. No, I agree. It's cool. I love, like, I used to organize or run a United Methodist kids all sports camp, and soccer camps, and used to run their soccer leagues here in Atlanta. And I loved it. I love kids. And I think it all starts, like a lot of this, getting back to, before I let you go, but I think there is so much emphasis. I don't have kids, but, as society, need to put on kids being healthy, encouraging them to exercise more. I think it is a shame that, sometimes kids don't even get recess. Like, we need to play. We need to have kids outside. We need to encourage them to do individual and team sports, whether that's running, soccer, basketball, baseball, whatever, something sort of extracurricular, even if it's chess, even if it's not physical, even though I'd like to see people doing physical activity. And I think, my goal when I was coaching high school cross country was, I don't want to make somebody hate this so they don't go back to it, right? Because I had a high school soccer coach who pretty much ruined me on soccer. I didn't play for a year after that, and now I still play all the time. I love it, right? And so, with that in my head, and looming over me, I was like, I want to be the positive inspiration that this child and these children, are like, hey, I want to be healthy for life, because for me personally, I'm not trying to run for tomorrow or a certain race. This is a lifestyle that I want to hold until I die, whether I'm running, biking, swimming, hiking up with my paraglider somewhere to fly off, whatever it might be, chainsawing. I'm trying to get fit activity every single day. And I think that needs to be the emphasis and encouraging. And yeah, sure, we can do this, high intensity, like collegiate level sports obviously isn't for everybody, but sports and physical activity needs to be for every single person. We need to be healthier in America, mentally and physically. And I think that's where it starts. And it's cool to see people like you coaching, people like Daniel, who obviously got away from it, is now coming back, which, by the way, Daniel is the most kind, amazing, humble human ever. I don't want to say this while he's on, but I'll tell you everybody this right now. This guy broke more course records than any in the Southeast for ultras and just races than anybody know. And a lot of those records still stand. If you want to, don't tell him I said this, he'll probably see it, but go look up Daniel Hamilton on Ultra Sign Up. Look at all his results. He is absolutely incredible. And I'm so happy that he's getting back into running. He has an amazing, beautiful family. His wife is awesome. His kids are cool. And I saw photos after you spoke, and you're like, hey, Daniel's going to be on. And I was like, oh God, he's got a beard now. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to grow some facial hair. So I got the dirty handlebar mustache just for Daniel.
Shoot, I didn't get the memo. I would have worked on my facial hair.
You should have put a fake beard on.
Drawn something on or something. Yeah. No, he's so freaking talented. It's not fair, and when I first podcasted with him a couple months ago, I was like, why did you stop? And he's like, he said something about wanting his kids not to feel like the pressure that they needed to be like that, and to kind of give them, he really went a family guy route, and good for him to be there for his kids. That's really amazing. But I don't know, I feel like he's flipped the switch and he's really trying to get back into it. And that's so exciting to see. And yeah, I hope he can go back and race and just enjoy it, But yeah, it's hard when you're at the top like that. There's so much pressure, and you feel like you've got eyes on your back to see, oh, so you're going to race again? Or are you going to be as good as you were before? And that's got to be on his mind a lot. It's on my mind, racing in college and, getting back into racing and training and everything, and seeing progress that needs to be made. And it's overwhelming. But I think what you're doing is so awesome, because you are so inclusive for people who are at every level. And it's, the kind of competitive comparing of splits and pace and everything else goes out the window, because you're out on a mountain, right? And you're just trying to survive, or maybe you're out there enjoying the woods. And it's just like that competitive element that can be very off-putting for a lot of people. It can, it be as competitive as you want it to be, right? Choose your adventure. And I think that's so important, and why so many people are attracted to ultra running. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, well, thanks. I mean, I can't even say thank you for that. I feel guilty because people pay me for it. So
for people who want to know more about the races that you offer, know more about you, are you active on social media? What's the race website?
Yeah, so our website is runbumtours.com. Like I'm a bum. I take people on tours. I used to actually do tours. I quit doing that a while ago, but runbumtours.com. We're Run Bum Races on Instagram and Run Bum on Facebook. And yeah, we have technically, I think it's the largest trail and ultra running race company on the whole East Coast. We got about 13 races a year from Southwest Virginia, all the way to Central Florida. So I design all the courses as something I want to run and that is going to be visually pleasing. We try to do big cutoffs and overly aid everything. And, you more than get what you pay for. You get free race photos, usually medal, pint glasses, most of the time beer and food at the finish. So yeah, it's a really fun time, and I'm giving back a lot too. I donate a lot of money every year to nonprofit trail associations, the Florida Trail Association, Ben Mackay, Bartram Trail. I can go on and on and on, but I live this, I eat this, I breathe this. I want to continue to run myself, and I want people to run our races. And it's we'd love to have anybody at a race. Just come, be cool, don't be a jerk. That's it.
Great. Well, listeners, as you can tell, Sean really means what he says. And I even think about that story that you said about the woman who she signed up, and then the guy saw her sign up and then sent messages to her, and then she sent that to you and you took care of it. Like, honestly, Sean is going to be proactive. If like women feel unsafe, like he's on top of it, right? And very, very much practices what he preaches, gives back to the community. Yeah, I think you're doing great work, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, and hopefully we'll see you at a race soon.
I hope so. I need to get my butt in gear like yesterday, so we're trying.
Hey, and the last thing I want to say this, I try to say this every single podcast. Sometime somebody has me on. I do not think as a 300-time ultra runner, I say that not to, hey, look at me, but I say that, and hopefully that gives me, warrants me the ability to be able to give this advice. Is I don't think everybody's goal should be to run 100 miles or to run an ultra marathon. But I think, and I'd like to see and encourage people that every person should maybe do something once in a while that makes them kind of go outside their comfort zone and, makes them a little uncomfortable and they don't know if they can do, and give everything they can to try to make that happen in training and whatnot. It's really changed my life for the better. And yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. As a coach, seeing people pursue things that makes them get out of their comfort zone, it's a really rewarding experience to see, for me to see, but also for them to see that they can do hard things. So
yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much again.